In this lesson, we are going to look at some different operations you can do using functions. And so, in this very first problem here, what this is wanting us to do, notice there's a plus sign in between here. Basically, if I were to rewrite this without the parentheses there, this is really wanting us to take f of x and add g of x. That's all this is asking us to do. Okay, so clearly here's the f of x. So I am going to take 3x squared plus 7x, and then I am going to add, that's what this plus sign in here and here means, so I'm going to add the g of x, which of course I already have right here as 2x squared minus x minus 1. Now, when I'm adding, I don't really need parentheses. I can just add in any order, and I can combine my like terms. And so when I do that, obviously I'm going to combine my x squared terms to have 5x squared, and my x terms to have 6x. And then, of course, this minus 1 right here. And you're not going to have numerical answers necessarily. You're just going to have another function that you have simplified into 1. Okay, so there's your answer on that one. All right, here you have a subtraction sign in between. That's what that little thing means. So really all this wants us to do is to take f of x and subtract g of x. That would be another way to write this. Okay, and so f of x clearly is 3x squared plus 7x. And then I am going to subtract g of x, which is 2x squared minus x minus 1. One of the most common math mistakes is to leave it written like this. And when you leave it written like this, that really means you're only subtracting the 2x squared term. You're not subtracting the whole quantity, which is g of x. And you need to subtract the whole quantity. You can't just leave it written without the parentheses. That negative symbol or that subtraction symbol needs to be distributed through that second set of parentheses. So when I distribute it here, I will have negative 2x squared. When I distribute it here, I will have positive x. And when I distribute it here, I will have plus 1. Okay, so make sure that you're subtracting the whole entire quantity, not just the first term of g of x. And then, of course, you'll have your 3x squared plus 7x. And now all you need to do is just simply combine your like terms. So I have 5x squareds. And I have 7x plus 1x to make 8x. And then, of course, this constant right here, which is plus 1. Okay, and that will do it. Okay, moving on. This symbol right here, and it's off a little bit, but that symbol, of course, would mean to multiply. So I am going to multiply f of x times g of x. So I am going to multiply, and of course you can multiply in any order, but I will multiply f of x, which is 3x squared, minus 2x plus 1. So I'm going to multiply f of x times g of x, which is x minus 4. And if you want to switch these around because it's really bothering you that the longer one is up front, that is okay. Otherwise, you may certainly leave it like this. To multiply this, you are going to need to distribute these things through. So I am going to take the shorter one and distribute it just to make it a little bit easier. So I need to take the x and I need to distribute it all the way through this first set of parentheses. So x times 3x squared would be 3x cubed. X times negative 2x would be negative 2x squared. And x times 1, of course, would be x. And then you need to do the same thing by distributing the negative 4 all the way through the parentheses. And when I do that, of course, negative 4 times 3x squared would be negative 12x squared. Negative 4 times negative 2x is 8x. And negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. And then just simply combine your like terms. So I have 3x cubed right here. And I have negative 2x squared here and negative 12x squared here. So that's negative 14x squared. And then I have an x here and an 8x here for a total of 9x's. And then, of course, your constant over here of negative 4. And that's all you can do with that one. next, of course, we have a division sign. Okay, so I am going to basically take f of x. This is what this means if I want to rewrite it, f of x, and divide it by g of x. Okay, so for f of x that you have on top, of course, that's 3x squared minus 2x plus 1. And on the bottom, g of x would be x minus 4. Okay, now, later on, we will learn that there's more that you can do to this. You can simplify this a little bit, but for our purposes right here, you've got one fraction that is as simplified as it can get. Some people like to try to cross off one of these x's with one of these, but you need to think about this whole entire thing as a quantity, x minus 4, and you can't split or cancel any part of that quantity up. So you cannot cancel that. So don't be tempted to do that. The other thing you need to do when you're doing these is you always, whenever you have fractions and you have variables in the denominator or letters in the denominator, you have to think about the fact that you can't divide by 0. So when I have this x down here in the denominator, that there are certain numbers that I can't plug in for x, or if I do, it will make my denominator be 0. So if you think about this, the number that I would plug in for x to make my denominator 0 would be 4, because then 4 minus 4 is 0. So I can't plug 4 in for x, or I will have a denominator that's 0. That would be illegal. So you need to say after the side here that x cannot be 4. Okay? And that would be your final answer. And you only need to do that when you have variables in the denominator, like I do right here. All right. And then I think that will do it for you.